For those who does not know me, my name is Terea Overton. I'm the manager of events here at Heroic, and I'm so excited for this session for Premenopause and Menopause Demystified, the essential one-on-one for understanding your midlife transition. So as we go on our journey together, please put all your questions in the comments. We will make sure to get it at the end for a nice Q&A. And if we do not get to your questions, feel free to put it in Heroic Circle. The video will be posted in Heroic Circle and we can continue that conversation there. Now, without further ado, let's dive in. So the greatest gift we can give ourselves is wellness. Yet knowing how to get there is often a significant obstacle to success. To navigate a market saturated with quick fix products and harmful advice, it is essential to safeguard your well-being with a trusted advisor. Whether your wellness journey begins in your own kitchen or an executive boardroom, Adrien will guide you with innovative methodologies, a client-centric philosophy, and an approach infused with encouragement and care. After a successful career on Capitol Hill in corporate communications, in 2004, Adrien took a leap and opened up her first female-owned strength gym in Alexandria, Virginia. In 2018, after watching hundreds of women struggle through the transition to menopause, Adrien decided to launch Alexandria Wellness, now known as Adrien Cotton, to focus on helping post-40-year-old women find their strength through premenopause and beyond. Today, Adrien, also known as Heroic Alum, Cohort Grad 17, advises individuals and organizations using her exclusive and revolutionary approach, the Wellness Wheel, which we will post later on today in this session, rooted in holistic approaches to a wellness-centric lifestyle. No gimmicks, no fads, simple, small habits. So please help me welcome Adrien Cotton. Adrien, take this.
Thank you. Thank you, Terea. Thank you all for coming today. Thank you for all listening. Again, I'm Adrien, grad 17. We were famous for the firehouse fun parties. Our social life at all of our grad weeks was wonderful because our colleague Jonathan Brill hosted a social every evening after our cohort met at HPS Heroic. So I am a former Capitol Hill staffer, as you heard. I am born and bred Southern California surfer girl. I was an athlete all the way through high school and part of college. I played classical piano all the way through college. I transitioned to Washington, D.C. because I wanted to work in politics. And I did work in hardcore politics for about 16, 17 years. And like most people, when they leave politics, they open up a strength training gym. You're going to have to laugh at my jokes. So I decided to do what I really wanted to do. I felt like I was not doing anything in my life that was contributing to my wellness, nor really others, because I really am someone who I believe I'm called to serve. This is what I'm called to serve to do. So I am here to serve you today and to help you learn a little bit more or anything about the transition from perimenopause into menopause and postmenopause. I'm really hoping to dispel some of the myths that are out there that you may have heard chatter on social media or wherever. And I'm really hoping for you to walk away with a new perspective that's a positive one. So let me tell you my story. So I was working in politics, as I said. I transitioned after politics in about 2000 to opening up my gym in 2004. And what happened was I was working with a range of women. I had about 10 coaches in my gym at the time, at all times. And I was working with a particular woman. I'm going to use a fictitious name. Let's call her Anne. And so Anne, high-powered lawyer in DC, big law firm, partner in the firm, extensive travel, 2 kids, middle school, high school, hard charge, super successful, and miserable. Working out with me at 5 o'clock in the morning, 3 times a week, not inexpensive. And at the same time, I started to notice things in Anne that were somewhat similar to what I was going through. Anne was really stressed out. Her stress was overtaking her life. She was struggling to lose that 5-10 pounds that she had accumulated since she had had her kids say the last 12 years. And then I started to notice, oh my goodness, Anne is like Adrien. Adrien had twin, and I do have twin 18-year-olds now. And at the time, my kids were about 5, 6. And I noticed I had this unbridled stress. I was working like a dog to get this gym off the ground and keep it going. I was not tending to my sleep. Why would I do that? Was that going to help me lose weight? I had this new amount of weight around my waistline and my hips. So what did I do? Like most of us do, because we learned in our 20s and 30s, you run and you deprivation diet. You shrink the calories. So guess what happened? Nothing. Nothing changed. I continued to keep the weight on. I continued to keep my stress. And then I just noticed over the course of a few years, it took me about 2, 3 years to figure out, oh goodness, Anne and I are not alone. That seems to be most of the women who are coming to our gym that are approaching 40 and beyond. So I decided, and it wasn't a very popular move, to close the doors to Fitness on the Run, which was the name of my beloved gym. And I decided to start working with women exclusively who are going through this transition, because I believed that there was another way that we could feel better in our bodies than to shrink our calories and to go deep into a really cardio obsessed lifestyle, which I think that when I grew up, that was what we were told to do. So what was happening with Anne and I and a bunch of the women with whom I continue to work, and I worked then. Oh, perimenopause. So let me tell you what perimenopause is. Peri means before. Menopause means menses pause. So this is the transition to the pause of your menses. It could be anywhere between 4 to 8 years. The average age is 45. However, it can happen as early as your mid-30s. And I do know women who start experiencing still have their cycle when they are in their mid-50s. So it can go, we've got a 20-year range there, but the average age is 45. Okay, so what's going on? You're going to hear the same term from me quite a bit today. The brain is going through this massive change. It is wondering, why is my body feeling this way? Why is my cycle different? And why in the world are you still here? One of my most unpopular statements that I make when I speak to women and men about this topic is that evolutionarily, women are here on this earth to reproduce. So our brain is programmed for reproduction. So as we are entering into this transition phase, our brain is starting to feel stress. While we may still have our cycle, we still can be going through what they used to call the change. So what's really happening? So physically, we see irregular periods. And one of the things I can ask of you today, and to share it with everyone on the circle, all of your friends in Heroic and elsewhere in your family, start tracking your cycle now. Start tracking it, know how long it is, what is the length of it, and how heavy is it? Because once it starts to change and you're in this age, something's starting to happen. Although other symptoms actually happen first. Perimenopause has 4 stages. I'm not going to be able to go into the 4 stages today, but there are 4 fairly distinct stages. And the first one, you continue to have your cycle every month. What do you feel? You can feel breast tenderness. You can feel you have massive sleep disturbance. You're feeling fatigued, but you're almost wired. You feel bloated, almost like you're PMS all the time. Night sweats and hot flashes. Now, these are the physical symptoms. What are the cognitive symptoms? brain fog. And I'm going to go into depth about each one of these in a second. Relationally, what's happening? Well, we definitely start to experience a low libido and weight gain. Weight gain really can check all of these boxes because it brings with it a whole bunch of different emotions. Emotionally, what's happening? Well, we have a lot of mood changes. We have irritability, and we can actually have bouts of rage, and it's not uncommon. And professionally, all of these symptoms impact our professional lives. So what's really going on? So why are we having irregular periods? And later in my slide deck, I'm going to show you what's going on average with women's hormones through the stages through perimenopause and menopause. So irregular periods are because we actually in perimenopause at the beginning have a spike of estrogen. So estrogen is one of our 3 sex hormones. It's what's telling our body to produce those ovaries every month. Well, we can have more or we can have sporadic periods because the estrogen actually increases. Hot flashes. So as we transition into this phase, estrogen also dips. And what happens is our internal thermostat, known as our hypothalamus, misfires. And we really can't perceive temperature, and our vasomotor, which is another portion of our brain, part of our brain, can't regulate temperature as well. Mood swings, a lot of them. So what happens, again, it's this roller coaster ride that I'm going to show you a little bit later of estrogen. And what happens is our serotonin, which is a neurotransmitter in our brain that's responsible for our calm. And our dopamine, which is our reward center of our brain, many of you have probably heard of it, it's also impacted by the estrogen roller coaster ride. Progesterone actually declines and it reduces our GABA. And GABA is responsible, it's almost like it's our brake pedal. It can help us stop and pause. It's responsible for promoting relaxation. We don't have a lot of that when we're getting this estrogen roller coaster ride. Keep going. Sleep problems. Why do we have sleep problems during perimenopause? So low progesterone, another sex hormone. So low progesterone, it removes a very natural born sedative that we get from progesterone production. Estrogen dips also can significantly trigger night sweats. So stress can cause poor sleep, and I can go deeper into that when we talk about part 2, perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause 201, but I can explain a little bit deeper about why our sleep is so impacted in this phase. Brain fog and forgetfulness. Remember, we were talking through all these symptoms. Estrogen fluctuations, again, they affect different memory pathways in our brain. Breast tenderness and bloating. Estrogen surges, and then comes down without this balancing act that it's used to with progesterone. So it's really our lower libido. What happens? We're having eventually a decline in testosterone. That reduces our natural sexual desire. Also, a very common top 4 symptom of perimenopause is vaginal dryness. The first few times I talked about this, I remember the audiences were embarrassed. It's really true. I think 1 in 4 women experience vaginal dryness. Why? It's because our estrogen is dipping and it makes sex very uncomfortable. So you combine those 2 physical symptoms, and that's low libido. And then we have this fatigue again. So we're really wired. We are likely caring for potentially teams at work, children. Some of us are having to work with elderly parents. And you put this all together and you've got this cacophony of chemicals that's moving in a different way. And so I call it your new brain, your new body, and there are answers. We call this, some of us call this puberty in reverse. Some of you may or may not remember puberty. Some of you may or may not want to, but puberty, there's a lot of peaks and valleys of emotions. It can feel the same way in perimenopause, But the best thing you're doing today is that you're here and you're learning that it's this rising and falling of hormones that's really responsible for it. Okay, these symptoms reach almost all areas of a woman's life and her health. As you can see in my graph, medical areas that are impacted by perimenopause, the brain and our emotions, because our mood, our memory, and our sleep, our heart and circulation, I will go deeper into that later. Our bones and joints are significantly impacted by perimenopause. Our muscles and our metabolism significantly impacted by perimenopause and menopause and beyond. Our reproductive and sexual health is now really impacted because we're heading into a phase in menopause when we can no longer reproduce, but we can during perimenopause. Our sleep and our energy, our skin, our hair, our oral and our sensory are impacted. Our gut and our immune system are impacted, and our bladder and our pelvic health are impacted. All of these lead women to sometimes feeling hopeless. I've heard women feel like they're crazy, that they don't know what's happening with them, but they know something's different. That's how I felt. And they almost felt stupid, like they should know better. But there's just not enough good information out there about it. So now I'm really glad that's why you're here. So perimenopause is not just about periods ending. It's your whole body transitioning to a whole new way of life, particularly, as I'll address at the end, a whole new, simpler approach to your health and wellness. So these hormones like estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, they affect your brain, your bones, your heart, your muscles, your skin, and much, much more. And that's why these kinds of things show up in perimenopause. All right, so let's move into menopause. Menopause, menses pause. It is a milestone. It is when you transition through 12 consecutive months without a menstrual cycle. This marks your natural end of your reproductive years. Also, in the medical science, we call it the turning point. So now after that, and I'll talk to you about postmenopause. So the average age of menopause is 51, but just like perimenopause, there's a large range, but this is the average. It's 51. I was in my late 40s, but I know women who were in their early 40s, and it can range. So this is when the estrogen is a consistent low level. So things start to even out a little bit. Some of the symptoms seem to calm a little bit, and that's because we no longer are on the roller coaster ride. All of these three sex hormones, our estrogen, our progesterone, and our testosterone, they're either in a natural or a gradual decline, which leads to the changes in our energy, our libido, and our muscle mass, but they're not at zero. It's not a stage, it's a milestone. So let me go through the physical symptoms. Hot flashes and night sweats, they're still around. That's because, again, remember, as I mentioned earlier, the part of our brain that's responsible for temperature regulation is now no longer working as well without the estrogen. It can't. Vaginal dryness and painful sex. Bladder changes really start to rise up during menopause. Urgency, leaks, and infections. Sleep problems continue. Bone loss starts. Joint pain, particularly shoulders. Shoulder and joint pain, very common during menopause. Again, because of estrogen dropping. We have a slowed metabolism for sure. As we enter into menopause, there's MRI imaging. I promise I'm getting to the good news, but we do see that fat does start to accumulate down in our midsection. And that's why some women will say, I'm doing everything. I'm exercising so hard. I'm watching everything I eat really well, but I'm accumulating this layer of fat around my midsection. Yes, yes, and yes, but there are things you can do about it. Cognitively, what's happening? We're still having mood changes and we're still experiencing brain fog because we still don't have that estrogen. Now that estrogen is really going to a low stage and it's staying fairly consistently low. Relationally, all of the symptoms that I just talked, all of the different things impact us relationally. Of course, the vaginal dryness, the weight gain, the lack of libido, bladder changes, that can impact our relationships. It can impact, I have clients I work with who sometimes don't want to go out because they're experiencing pelvic floor issues. So there's a lot of ways that we can see that menopause is way more than a transition for our sexual life. It's our whole body. Professionally, the same thing. This impacts us significantly professionally. So again, all of these hormones are going through this gradual decline. Okay, so next up, postmenopause, a true medical term. What does that mean? Just because you're in menopause does not mean that the ride is over. One of the biggest myths that I'm going to raise later in the presentation is that some women believe, I've already gone through that. Well, if you've already gone through it, then you wouldn't be here because we die in menopause because we no longer have a menses. We are in menopause, menses pause. So there's perimenopause, there's menopause, and then we're in postmenopause. So those are the years after menopause, last for the rest of your life. It's your new baseline. It's when the symptoms, such as our hormones dropping and plummeting, that's over. But now we really need to look at longer term health issues. So again, me at 58, these are the areas that I am really focusing on for me and for any of my clients who are well past menopause. Bone health, get your DEXA scan. Strength train, and I mean strength train. Heart health, make sure you're doing things to take care of your heart, and make sure I am a big believer in having a cardiologist. Urogenital changes, again, bladder issues really start to rise up because everything during menopause relaxes, including our pelvic floor. Emotional stability and wisdom, however, goes up. And why is that? Because the beautiful thing about being postmenopause is our brain is actually much smarter because we've had so much more experience just of everything. So we have all these synapses in our brain working together, and that is what we're going to use in our favor, particularly for today, as we approach our health and our wellness in a new way. Okay, so we have hot flashes that can still persist in postmenopause. Yes, I have 65-year-olds who are in postmenopause and they are still experiencing hot flashes. Ongoing vaginal dryness, bladder issues, pelvic floor issues really start to rise up here. Bone loss, thinning hair and skin thinning, skin issues, hair issues, nail issues, yes, yes, and yes. Emotionally, though, again, like I said earlier, we have increased wisdom. We have more experience. Cognitively, our moods can start to stabilize. And many women actually can report more clarity and wisdom in menopause. And I believe a big part of that is because we are now past that phase. And for those of us who are more educated and more knowledgeable about it, like you are, you're going to know, okay, now I'm taking charge of my body. I know what's going on. All right. So next up, some surprising symptoms of all three stages that you may not have known about. Heart palpitations. I don't know if you heard, one of the most famous people who had heart palpitations was Oprah Winfrey. Oprah started to experience heart palpitations. I have too. And that is a symptom. So yes, go visit your cardiologist. Racing heart, that can be a contributor or can be a symptom because estrogen is going down and our heart, our whole body has estrogen receptors. We have little estrogen cells in every one of our organs, including, namely, our heart. So our heart is the reason why we really need to be thinking about our long-term health in postmenopause. Tingling hands and feet, itchy skin, crawling skin. Yes, hair thinning and shedding. Allergies and histamine issues can actually really escalate. They did for me, and this is all because of estrogen. Gum and dental challenges have that too. Definitely estrogen decline. And digestive issues like bloating and IBS flares are all fun things that come along with postmenopause life. go through some myths. So some of us have the same doctor for decades. And some of us want to go to that same doctor, and that same doctor may be perfect for us. But sometimes that same doctor may not be as schooled or experienced in this area of your life. It's very difficult for a doctor to know everything about menopause. Very difficult, unless they've had additional schooling. 75% of Johns Hopkins Medical School OBGYN graduates claimed that they were not well informed nor schooled to help women through menopause. Delivering babies, check that box. Menopause, no. It's because they're not taught in school. So you can seek the help of a menopause specialist, but you also do need to look at the bigger picture. And the menopause specialist will really help you with all of those components that I raised earlier. And they're very, very, very open to a different way of approaching us in menopause than they did before. It's less about a blood test. It's more about, hey, how are you feeling? And then seeing if they can help you feel it better. So I've already been through it. So you're done. I think I already covered that. You're not done. But you have so much to look forward to because you really can bounce back so well like I did. I was miserable in my late 40s. And once I started to really dig deep into the research and understand what I needed to do to care for my own body, I'm stronger now at 58 than I was at 48, for sure. Again, I talked about the OBGYN being schooled in menopause. Unfortunately, not all of them are. Some of them are, and you may be lucky to find one. Every woman is the same. So the path forward matches your mom, your sister, your friend, or somebody on Instagram. No, all of our paths are different. Even though it can be that your path is the same as your mother or your sister, it is not uncommon for you not to follow the same path because your body is different and your lifestyle is different. There's a one-size-fits-all answer to your symptoms and your journey forward. There is not. When you find the help from a coach like me or someone who's a medical professional who does just this, you will be quite surprised, pleasantly surprised, with the range of strategies that you can practice that won't necessarily be a prescription medication. It'll just be a different way of approaching your days, a better way. So you can't have your period and be in the transition to menopause. I believe I already covered that. Yes, you can. And by the way, you need to have 12 consecutive months before you're officially in menopause. I can diet and exercise my way to feeling better in my body. Those days are over because as you saw in that previous slide, joints, bone, muscle, metabolism, to name a few, our hormones, all of those rely on different systems now. So we need to approach our exercise and our diet and our sleep and how we really manage our stress different than we did in our 20s and 30s. Perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause cannot be addressed through sleep. I beg to differ. I believe sleep is the foundation of our health and wellness. Yes, you can lose weight through sleep, but it takes a conscious effort and a new mindset from the diet and exercise mindset. I will get more into that when we have our perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause 201, maybe in the fall or the winter. So you need to keep toiling away at a lot of cardio and deprivation dieting. I think you've heard me loud and clear on this. Very different now. That's a good thing, right? Because we actually need to eat, and we need to eat well, and we need to eat sufficiently, and we need to find joy in food. And we also need to move our bodies in different ways than we did before, and that does include strength training. So hormone replacement therapy, also known as HRT, I'm sure you've all heard of it. Now, it's called, and it causes breast cancer. So it is now called menopause hormone therapy, no longer hormone replacement therapy. Why? Because what happened was people thought that the medication that they were taking for hormones was replacing their previous amounts of estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone. We're not replacing. We can't possibly replace the natural producing hormones that our own body produces. But menopause hormone therapy has helped millions of women, and many big studies have now found that it does not cause breast cancer. So why are my emotions felt so deeply when I have this situation, this whole transition going on in my life? Well, that's because often the times, most of the women with whom I've worked, they're busier than ever. I have a friend who uses the term, we're painting over rust. We have big challenges, whether it's relationships, whether it's work issues, kid issue, parent issue, you name issue. And instead of really dealing with it and really getting deep into figuring out what is going on with that situation, I like to put it off to the side and not deal with it. And that holds on to that stress in your brain. It doesn't go anywhere. Weight gain is very emotional. There's a lot of shame. There's a lot of vulnerability that comes along with it. And we just don't feel good in our clothes because sometimes we don't fit in them. Our emotions are a little different because I'm doing the same thing with my body and nothing is happening different. I have the shame. I have the sleep disruption. And I'm going to go into sleep a little bit later. But when we have sleep disruption, our whole body does not function well at all. Even though you may understand that, I'm going to go a little bit deeper in it in a few slides. We don't have stress resilient strategies. And what I mean by that is when stress approaches us, or we approach stress, my program teaches women to respond and not react. As you can imagine, there's a distinct difference between reacting and responding. And so I teach a good number of methods, because not every method works for every woman, because every woman's life is different, that we need to have our toolbox. And the lack of libido is very, very shameful for us. So this is a graph just to show you, we're almost finished with the science of it all. But as you can see, the blue line on the left, this is what's happening about somewhere around 10 years out. And the 0 in the middle is when we start menopause. So you can see how perimenopause, our estrogen goes up and our progesterone slightly goes downward. And that's why some of those irregular periods and some of the other symptoms are happening, because the estrogen actually goes up. But then as you can see over time, it's a roller coaster ride to get down. It's not a straight line down. And I just thought you would like to see that once we hit menopause, they normalize. Okay? So what is your experience emotionally again in perimenopause? Anxiety and worry, mood swings, sadness, low mood, anger, frustration, overwhelm, fear, shame, and embarrassment, but also a tremendous amount of resilience and empowerment once you and those with whom you share this news understand you've got this. You are not alone, and now you have some tools that you can use to go forward. Menopause, some of those symptoms get better. So it's that low mood, it's more reduced motivation, lingering anxiety, and a lot of cases of depression. This is because the progesterone and the estrogen affect massively our mood regulation. So testosterone's decline, that's what leads to us having low energy. So why is this important for you as a speaker? So as you know from all of our time at Heroic, our voice and our performance are tantamount to our success on the stage. And our voice is definitely impacted. A bunch of muscles are impacted by a decline in estrogen. Our confidence and our presence can actually shift if we don't tend to our bodies and our wellness in the new phase. We can again put it on the shelf, paint over rust. Our connection with the audience will actually improve, because I'm hoping that starting today, when you go off to your next keynote, you're going to see women in the audience. And I think you might just look at them a different way, and your connection with them improves because you know you guys are in the club together. We're all going through this together, any woman over 40. Professional longevity definitely aligns with heart health, bone health, brain health. And that's why it's really important for a speaker to learn the right strategies now, and wherever you are on your trajectory, if you are entering or if you're well into postmenopause, you still have a chance to really get to know your body well. And what does she need? And then leadership and wisdom. When we know what's going on with our bodies and we tend to it with the right professionals and the right strategies, we have more leadership and increased wisdom. So, this is my contextual model. This is the answer I have for my members and for you. We're going to go deeper into this when we get into our next presentation in the winter, possibly in the winter. However, this is how we approach wellness in my company. If my goal is to feel an incredible sense of mastery of my own body and my life, they go together, then I'm going to ask from my strategies, I'm going to tend to my sleep. And what does that look like? So when I tend to my sleep and I get the number of hours that I need, which may be different than you, which may be different than somebody else on our call, I get the right amount of sleep and I don't awaken in the middle of the night, which is a big symptom for many women of our age. Women wake up in the middle of the night, and there are a range of reasons, but there also are a range of solutions. But let's say you sleep through the night consistently. Well, then you are going to be more adept at approaching your meal planning and your food. And you're going to look at your food as fuel because you know what? Your workout is coming up this week, and you know you're going to want to give your all to your workout. If you get enough sleep, which is biodirectionally related to stress, then you're going to feel less stress. And even when you do have those little stressors, they're going to remain little stressors. And when you have the medium-sized stressors, they may even feel little because you've gotten your sleep. Calendar is on my wheel. Calendar is on my wheel because I have discovered working with these women, the women I've worked with for 15 years now, that when we don't make calendar, when we don't put our wellness on our daily schedule, it does not happen. When we do not make a conscious effort at 5 minutes here, 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there, it doesn't need to be a 60-minute, hour-long sweaty workout. It could be a 5-minute flow, which is a practice I teach in my program. But all of these different strategies I teach, and I know that Shariah is going to share a link in chat with you so you can get a downloadable copy of it. And then she also has a link that's going to send to my website. If you have any more questions for me, you can we can have a meeting together. But I wanted to see what happens when we tend to our sleep or when we tend to our physical movement. The same thing applies. They're interchangeable. They're interconnected. When I don't tend to my stress resilience practices, how's my sleep? Not great. How am I feeling about my food? Well, I might look at it more as a reward than as fuel. I'm definitely not going to make time to call someone or to practice my gratitude practice that day. And my workout, that's probably going to go out the door because I don't have any strategies to deal with my stress. So all of the strategies around my wheel, also called the spokes of my wheel, are interconnected and they work together. They help each other and they build on each other. So that is my answer to this phase for you. We're going to open it up for Q&A now, if you have any Q&A. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen and see if I can answer any of the questions you might have.
The questions that came through as we were going through. One of the questions from Nilu was if you could share some solutions for those of us that can't take HRT, that will be amazing.
Yes. So HRT is one strategy. Hi, Nilo. Thank you for coming. I really would tell you if I could wave a magic wand, I would say every woman, make your sleep your top priority. Because when you have sleep, we don't have the stress. So our brain is already anxious from this change. It was here to reproduce. And then after, it is wondering why it is still here. So it's anxious. It's really tight. So when we get our sleep, and what I mean by sleep is I mean robust sleep practice, consistent sleep schedule. And I mean a consistent sleep schedule and a wind down schedule, then your stress is going to be less. And as Nilu knows, I'm also incredibly passionate about strength training. I do believe that women need to take strength training to a completely different level. We need to look at our strength training very differently. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is our body weight, if I weigh 100 pounds, and I don't, but if I weigh 100 pounds, I'm going to look at that stack of weights or the machine that I'm working out on. I'm going to compare it to my body weight. So I'm no longer looking at the 5 and the 7.5 pound dumbbells or, weights on the machine. I'm looking at, can I get to half of my body weight for a deadlift? Or can I get to a quarter of my body weight for 25 pounds for my squat? Do I do it tomorrow? No. But that's what I do in our program is women tend to now look, they don't tend to, they must because they work with me, look at their workouts different, and we take our reps from 10 to less than 5 because we need to build muscle, and muscle is going to help you keep that bone also dense and flexible, which we need both. So both of those go together, the stress, the sleep, and the physical movement, and then the food just comes along. So if you want to start with sleep, I would. And then I would really get yourself a really robust strength training program. And the reps are less. Again, when we get to about 5 or 6 reps, that's where we're muscle building. When we go higher in repetition, that's when we're starting to lose a lot of our muscle and we're burning more muscle than we're building. And ladies, we got to build muscle. We're losing it by the minute. How does that feel, Nilu? Okay.
Okay, beautiful.
I need help.
Um,
I'm here to help you. I'm here for you, girl. I'm here for all of you.
Thank you. Hopefully that answered your question. Again, feel free to reach out to Adrien if you want a little bit more in depth. Gina Glover asked, I would love to know if the Silky Peach Cream is worth all the talk it's been getting.
I don't know. I love to say when I don't know, I don't know. Sothie Peach Cream. So what does it say that it does? Can you share a little bit more? Is it a cream for your skin?
I was like, Gina, if you would like to talk more about it, feel free to come
Or
off
if
of
you
mute.
want to get on a call, I can tell you, well, I don't know. I don't know enough about
It's silky peach cream, silky.
it. Okay.
And it is apparently you apply it to perineum and labia, and it relieves dryness and helps with any pain in sex. And I don't know, I've heard good reviews, but I also don't know if it's just really good marketing. It's hard
Yeah.
to distinguish between the two these days.
Yeah, I know quite a bit about estrogen cream. And
Hmm.
estrogen cream local has no risk associated with it all. And so what the estrogen cream does is it helps build that skin back up because what happens in our vulva is the skin just thins and that's what makes things so uncomfortable.
Yeah, my mom actually has been having she's 70 something,
Yeah.
and she has frequent UTIs. So her doctor recommended not this cream but a prescription one. So I'm kind of like
Yes.
trying to be, well, it's my mom. I might be made of the same cloth here. So be
It's not too
prepared.
late. It's not too late. It really is. Dr. Rachel Rubin, attribution where it's due. Dr. Rachel Rubin is a rock star urologist. If you can grab something by her, she just was recently. I heard her say every woman. It doesn't matter. Her mom was in the hospital at 85 years old, and they were trying to take her off of estrogen cream. She said, absolutely not. Why would you make her miserable there when she had something else going on? So if you aren't at risk, it's a local. So that's different than systemic
Okay.
HRT. That's local. But of course,
Okay.
check with your doctor,
Sure.
ideally menopause specialist.
And who is the book? Sorry, you just mentioned the author.
Dr. Rachel Rubin. I don't
Thank
know
you.
the name of her book. She's just speaking a lot right now. I'm lucky she's right in the DC area. She actually apprenticed under Dr. James Simon, who's one of my mentors in the menopause world. He actually helped start the Menopause Society, which I highly recommend all of you ladies go onto the Menopause Society or menopause.com. And that's where you find your menopause specialist.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Of
And thank you
course.
for doing this.
You're welcome. Come back the next time.
We have Kylie who asked, how do you manage premenopause while struggling with fertility and trying to get pregnant?
That's a tough one, Kylie. That's really tough. Well, I think that it would be really helpful to have a really good doctor by your side. And if you have a really supportive doctor who's helping you through it, and also being really vulnerable with your partner, because that has to be really hard relationally. I think the biggest, if I were in your shoes, I would say your doctor is really important. And would your doctor actually consult with a menopause specialist? Why not? Or would you? What I
Thank
would
you
like
for
to
that.
say too, Kylie, it may sound like a small strategy, but for you, your brain is, I mean, for all of us, our brain is already anxious. So that sleep is really, really important for you. And deep breathing.
Beautiful.
Yeah, keep us posted. Keep me posted, Kylie. Thanks for coming today.
We do have one additional question. Michelle asked, how much strength training? Is there ever too much in a week, in a day? She needs answers.
All right. So Michelle, how much strength training? It depends on where you are, but I'm just going to start with someone who's not strength training at all. So with someone who's not strength training at all, as you saw, the word habits is wrapped around my wheel. So I'm a big believer in starting small, because the human brain, we wake up in the morning with tons of willpower and discipline. And then as the day goes on, our willpower and discipline part of our brain goes that way, goes downward, for those of you who are listening in. So what happens is, the best way to establish new protocols in your life, new routines, is small habits. So someone who's not strength training, not training at all, I would say 1 day a week for about 15 minutes. And then over the course of about 3-4 weeks, if that 15 minutes happens 1 time a week, I would add a second day of 15 minutes. And over the course of time, I would love for that person to get to 3 or 4 days a week at 15 minutes before she goes to 30, 30, 30, 30, and before she goes up to her hour, which she may never do, because an hour is a long time in all of our professional lives. It's really hard for all of us. I'm pretty sure you are all in the same boat I am. To get an hour in, it's a luxury. If somebody's training regularly, let me go to another person. Somebody's training regularly. I think we should do something every day. Now, something is in quotes. I think we should all be walking. I think we should be walking about 30 minutes a day. And the 10,000 step, I think you all know, it's not scientifically proven, but it's a nice round number and I like it. I probably don't get 10,000 steps most days, but I can get 5 to 7 sometimes. So walking is really good for your sleep, and walking is really good for bone health. And obviously walking outside is great for our vitamin D. It's great for our immunity. So I would say everyone should do something every day. Now, if I am looking at someone like me and I train almost every day, and I train heavy about 4 of those days. And what I mean by heavy is, if I weigh 100 pounds, I am lifting probably half at least of my body weight in a deadlift 3-4 times a week. I'm not deadlifting every day, but if I did, and it's okay to do the same workout every day. That's the other thing, a lot of women. So I don't know about you all. I grew up in the 70s and 80s. I was born in 1967, and I had to have a new workout every day. Well, that's just like really difficult. So I do pretty much the same workout or two every day. What I do is I vary how many reps I do of it, or sometimes I'll do my 1 rep max, which means you do 1 rep of really heavy. However, don't do that until you get really proficient in the movement. So you need to pattern your brain. Our brain just loves patterning. So I would say that's a loaded answer, Michelle. 3 at least. Strength training and walking.
I hope that was helpful.
I know, Michelle, that was a long answer, but it depends on who it's for.
Okay. But again, if you need to go deeper, Adrien's always here to go around to
Oh, yeah.
answer all those questions. Oh, she said thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
There's one that I missed from Nilu. She said she would love to know how we could all manage the heat issues on stage.
Oh, so that's a really good question, girl. Why we don't. Oh, you had another question. So the heat issues on stage, first of all, can you ask the event organizer to turn the heat way down? You know, when our stress goes up, and I know you're beautiful on stage and you're really calm. I'm nerve-wracked still. So I feel like I know I need to do my exercise before, my breathing exercises before, and really calm my nervous system. I also know I would probably drink some cold water, and I drink a lot of cold things before because I'm going to get hot on stage. They make these necklaces, but I don't know how much you can wear them on stage. I don't know if you've heard of them, all of you, Nilu in particular. They're like pearls, and they're like ice, and you can put them around your neck. It's for women who have night sweats. But I suppose you could wear them on stage, but you'd have to cover them up with something. I wonder if they have like a bracelet, because you know at our wrists and our neck is where a lot of our blood vessels are. So that's what's going to cool us down quickest here.
Well, that's a great insightful tip.
I don't know. We'll see. I hope that was sufficient. Nina. That's a good one.
And then her secondary question was, why don't we lose weight when we sweat so much?
It's because of all those hormones, girl. It's the hormones, and they're holding on to that fat because the brain is stressed. The brain is really stressed. It's this new brain, new body. And it just doesn't get it. Like, why am I here? And why am I not churning out these ovaries every month on the same schedule? So the stress, we know stress leads to weight gain, which is why I tell you, everyone, get your sleep, because the number one way you can manage your stress is to sleep. Our REM sleep is our deepest sleep. It's the shortest amount of sleep usually. And they're now calling it the antidepressant of stage of sleep, because REM sleep is when we calm everything. All of the cortisol flushes out. And when we don't get our REM sleep because we're waking up because of night sweats, it's this double-edged sword, and it's incredibly unfair. But I think take one thing at a time and try it for a while. Don't give up. Message me. I'll hold your hand through it. But it really is a matter of one thing at a time. When I started my journey, it was sleep. And I lost friendships who wanted to go out. People wanted to go out and drink wine and do stuff. I had to stop because I wasn't being a great mom, nor business owner, nor partner. So one thing at a time.
That was a beautiful answer. So just one more question from Gina that came in. She found this sample workout online.
Okay.
It consists of a 5-minute light cardio, such as jogging or walking. She has a chest press, 3 sets, 10 to 12, rows, squat, bicep curl, tricep extension, and then a cool down of stretching. How often should she do this?
Okay, great question. Love it. Love that you found that, Gina. So I would say this is fantastic if you're just starting out, and I'm guessing you're not just starting out, but let's just say you are just starting out. That's great to do for the first, and let's say you're going to do that 3 days a week. I would do that 3 days a week for about a month. And then, Gina, I would take that load up. I would get those reps down. Number one, they're called trash reps. Once we get past 5, Dr. Fred Hatfield, super smart guy in the exercise science world, he found that most reps after about 5 or 6, they're not that good anyway. And you can lift more and you're not going to get big and brawny.
Right.
Promise.
Okay.
So get the weights up. And if you want, message me or, reach out to me. And I'm happy to help you construct a program. But whatever this is, let's say your chest press is like 2, 8, 7.5, or 10 pounds. I would get yourself to a push-up instead of a chest press, because you work so much more of your body. I'm a really big believer we can work our whole body with every movement. And I would get those reps. That's like a great warm-up. Like you could do that whole thing for a warm-up. And then your second round, take your chest press up and go from 12 to like 8.
Okay.
And then like 2 weeks later, go from 8 to 6. 2 weeks later, because we need to pattern the movement, make sure that we get your joints are happy with it, because we always have to watch our joint health, particularly our shoulders. Lack of estrogen impacts the shoulders.
Frozen shoulder in both right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, it sucks.
Deep breaths. Yeah, incredibly common, very common. It's estrogen.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is that helpful?
You bet. Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Beautiful. Is there any more questions? Please feel free to put it in the chat. If not, Adrien, do you have any final insights before we wrap up for the hour?
Yes, my insight is share this with your friends. If we can change the world one speech at a time, we can change the world one webinar on perimenopause and menopause and postmenopause. Tell your friends everything you need to know. I'll share my deck with you, whatever you need. My life's passion and work is focused on just this. I want every woman in this world to know that there's so much you can do about it. And the more we know before, like Taraya and I were talking about before, she knows going into it. Now she's going to have her toolbox, but it's never too late. So share the word with everyone. Let me know if you need anything. I know that we were going to put in chat how to get my wheel. Did you put that in there, Taraya?
Yes.
Great. Okay, you see it. Yeah. Oh my goodness, that old photo. Yeah, anything you all need from me, message me. Gina, let me know about the workouts. Kylie, keep me posted on how you're doing. Let me know if I can help you. Michelle, same thing with the training. I love that you're walking. And Nilu left, I know, but she's doing Orange Theory. So the only thing about the bigger gyms like that is sometimes they move too fast through the cardio. And cardio is cortisol spiking. So cortisol spiking makes our anxious brain even more anxious. So I would focus on exercise and workouts that work your body really hard, but in a different way where you're not breathless the whole time.
Well, thank you so much, Adrien,
You're
for all
welcome.
these insightful tips today.